Welcome back to the Pulse. Very interesting issues we're discussing this afternoon, and it's also on all the top issues shaping up for the day. Now, Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer of the NDC, Brogya Genfi, is petitioning the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, CHRAJ, to investigate a case of non-disclosure of all assets by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. According to the petitioner, the Finance Minister failed to disclose his entitlement and assets in the Data Bank Financial Services Limited when he submitted his assets disclosure form to the Auditor General. Well, the petitioner himself, Brogya Genfi, is with me here in the studio. Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
So why do you want the CHRAJ to prioritize this issue when CHRAJ itself has said that the man did not disclose all his assets?
Well, this is a constitutional matter. You know, the Constitution enjoins every public officer to disclose or declare his assets and present it to the Auditor General. That presentation is kept away from the public, and until a court, you know, orders for that declaration to be produced, or CHRAJ, through its investigation, demands for the form, we may not know what is in that declaration form. Now, if you remember, my petition to CHRAJ on the case of conflict of interest and several breaches of the laws, including the Public Financial Management Act, by the Finance Minister in the issuance of the 2.25 billion bond. CHRAJ, you know, finished their investigations and they presented the report to me. As part of their investigations, they found out, because they needed to search for the interest, the various interests of a finance minister in the financial sector, and then relate it to some of the allegations that I made with regards to his relationship with Trevor Tregan and Franklin Templeton Investment Limited. So exactly. They established in the report that the finance minister did not disclose all his assets when they requested for information from the Registrar General's department and matched it with his asset declaration. So the Constitution is very clear on that. If you breach Article 286, the Constitution directs you to Article 287, which, you know, informs you to write a formal petition to CHRAJ. And so, even though CHRAJ established in their investigation that the finance minister did not disclose all his assets, they could not have gone ahead to prefer any sanctions, because my petition was not specifically or in relation to Article 286. Okay. It was in relation to Article 284. Okay. So what I have simply done is to invoke Article 287 and present an official petition to CHRAJ so that CHRAJ can go into it. It's a serious matter.
But why are you now coming? Because I know the CHRAJ report on your first petition came some time back. It's been a while.
Yes, CHRAJ presented their petition to me on the 22nd of December. Okay. You know, that's barely a month.
A month ago.
And I have been studying it. There are various, you know, issues in the report. Okay. There's some recommendations that the minister will have to respond to in the petition. There are some aspects that the Attorney General will have to also respond to. But it appears that government has been silent on the petition. And I don't know why the media is not pushing government to give an official position on this report. And so I am going to deal with all the issues in the report. And one of them is the asset declaration. There's also another part which deals with the issue of conflict of interest, which in my opinion, I believe that CHRAJ, you know, did not conclude on their findings, and all of that is in the report. And I would want to go to the appeals court for the appeals court to enforce the findings, you know, to establish that there was a case of conflict of interest. That's also another matter. There's also a matter of the breach of the Public Financial Management Act. Okay. Fortunately for me, that issue is already at the Supreme Court. Okay. Honorable Clement Apak had gone to court for the Supreme Court to determine whether that bond issue should have gone to Parliament or not. Okay. Now, CHRAJ is saying that it should have gone to Parliament. So that leg is also being dealt with. And so this one is about the asset declaration. And it's a serious issue with accountability and fighting corruption. And so I was of the view that if the president is serious about fighting corruption, when he met the media, he should have touched on this issue. Because when public officers, hide their liabilities and assets from the Auditor General, it gives room for them to operate, any way that they want it. So we are, if I should say, lucky that this petition has unearthed that, particular non-disclosure of all the assets of the finance minister. And I'm sure that CHRAJ is simply going to go into it, because I didn't say it. They have said that in their report. If you go to page 86, page 120, and page 131, it's boldly written there.
You say government has been silent on the report. For you, what are some of the things you would want to see government do with this report from CHRAJ?
Well, for example, if you go to the report, if you go to page 139, CHRAJ gives, some recommendations. And one of it, I think that's the second point, is that, and I quote from the report, page 139, it says that the respondent, Minister for Finance, should, as a matter of urgency, make regulations or rules or guidelines published in the Gazette to regulate the format of and criteria for auctions and procedures for participation, bidding and allocation in auctions in relation to the issuance of securities and domestic markets. This has not been done. And government, has come up recently that they are going to issue more, debt instruments. And so once this is not done, and the finance minister is going to go ahead to use the old procedure, which CHRAJ has stated that is wrong, I think that it's a disrespect to CHRAJ as an institution. Again, CHRAJ also states, the final point. They say that section 561, in reference to the Public Financial Management Act, provides as follows: the terms and conditions of all government borrowing shall be laid before Parliament and shall not come into operation unless the terms and conditions are approved by resolution of Parliament in accordance with Article 181 of the Constitution.
That is clear.
That is clear. Now, CHRAJ says that the issuance of bonds is a form of borrowing, and therefore operationalizing Section 56(2) of the PFM Act with standard terms and conditions for government borrowing through a legislative instrument or through a resolution of Parliament to enable greater transparency in all borrowings is long overdue. Okay. And so we are expecting that the finance minister will take steps. But as this report, since it came up, I don't know if he's hiding from the media. I have not heard him speak to it. The Attorney General, has also not said anything about it. The President is not interested. And so even though by the CHRAJ Act, when CHRAJ issues a report, within 3 months, if any public officer ought to have taken, some steps from the report and has not done it, CHRAJ itself can go to court and enforce it. So, but I don't want to wait for the 3 months for CHRAJ to act. I'm going to act on every bit of
this report.
Yes.
But so what's the end game in the event that CHRAJ agrees with you? What does it mean for the continual stay of the minister in office?
Well, if you go to Section 8 of the Public Office Holders Declaration of Assets and Disqualification Act, I think Act 550 of 1998, it is very clear in Section 8 that anybody who fails to declare all his assets is not fit to hold public office. Okay. That's very clear in the Act. But the Constitution also says that CHRAJ, after its investigation, can prefer sanctions or give recommendations. So I'll leave that for CHRAJ to investigate further. For all you know, there may be many more other assets that has been hidden. But because CHRAJ's concentration was not on asset declaration, they may not have gone, deep into.
But the asset declaration can also be done at the end of the term of office. Of
course, if you look at Article 286. Yeah. Now it states, Article 2861, a person who holds a public office mentioned in Clause 5 of this article shall submit to the Auditor General a written declaration of all properties and assets owned by or liabilities owed by him, whether directly or indirectly. A, within 3 months after coming into force of this Constitution, right, or before taking office, as the case may be. Okay. B, at the end of every 4 years. Yeah. And C, at the end of his term of office. Okay. Now, when he took office, that is the point we are talking about now. Now, when it makes reference to at the end of every 4 years, it is assumed that at the end of the 4th year, he might have acquired some assets that he needed to declare. But this one, it is if you look at the report gives, you know, information from the Registrar General's department when those companies were registered and when the finance minister had interest in it. Of course, it was before he took office. So he was, you know, enjoined by Article 286 to have declared all those assets.
All right, so we'll be looking forward to how CHRAJ handles this matter, and we'll be looking with keen interest and update our viewers with what comes up with this. Thank you very much,
Thanks
Brogya
for
Genfi,
having
and we wish
me.
you all the best
Thank
in
you.
this endeavor.